Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Financially Irresponsible. I am your host, Rahkim Sabree. And in the last episode, I started with a story. I think it's appropriate for me to start this episode with a story as well. This story my grandfather used to tell me. Now I'm gonna adapt the story a little bit to fit the message or the theme that I want to share with you all today. And that message or theme is around financial resilience. The story comes from African folklore. I don't know exactly the area, but it starts off with a riddle. And the riddle is, what did the monkey say when the lion cut off his tail? And so I'll share with you the answer to that after I tell you this story. But the setting is the African jungles. And there's this monkey with an extremely long tail. And this monkey is majestic in its movements, super agile, swinging from tree to tree. The other animals in the jungle were actually in awe at just how magnificently this monkey would move, both in the air and on the ground. Well, the lion, who's known for being the quote unquote king of the jungle, feels like everybody, all the other animals, should not only fear him, but also revere him, but also have the same kind of respect and love that they have for the majestic monkey. And so the lion, he conspires to create this plan. He wants to embarrass the monkey. And so one day he lures the monkey down from the tall trees and he cuts the monkey's tail off. And so the monkey is horrified and all the other animals are horrified because, this tail was a big part of the majestic nature of this monkey's movement, right? The monkey relied on his tail for balance to basically help him in moving from tree to tree, swinging from tree to tree. And so now the lion is laughing at the monkey, and he goes, "What are you going to do now without your tail?" And the monkey replies, this is the answer to the riddle. When the lion cuts off the monkey's tail, what does the monkey say? And the monkey says, "It won't be long now." The tail won't be long now. And I could continue this story, but I want to wrap it up here. When my grandfather told me this story, the way that the story was positioned was in reference to something that I believe myself and my brother and cousins, uncles were looking forward to. We were looking forward to this, some big thing. I don't remember when it was. It's well over 30 years ago I heard this story for the first time. But I remember him saying, "It won't be long now." And it was just kind of a way for us to understand that some key moment had transpired in what we were waiting for, and that what we were waiting for was closer than we realized. Now, I'm changing the message or the theme behind this story because when the monkey's tail was cut off in this story, the monkey had to then learn how to move and navigate the trees in the jungle. Maybe not so similarly to how he did when he had his tail, because certainly his reliance on his tail was a big factor. But the monkey was able to get up and learn how to navigate using his other extremities, right? His arms, his legs. He recognized that sometimes the tail, although it was a big help, got in the way. And so eventually, after months and months of trying to reacquaint himself. The monkey was able to move in a similar, maybe even more so majestic way from tree to tree. He was able to get back the reverence and the love and the awe of the animals in the jungle, and frustrated the lion because the lion thought that he had grounded the monkey, that he had embarrassed the monkey, and that the monkey would never again be able to do the things that he was able to do prior to. The reason why I'm telling you this story is because I want to put this in the context of financial resilience. Sometimes we learn to use our money in such a way that we rely on it. We recognize its utility in how we show up, our self-esteem, what we wear, what we buy, what we eat, where we eat, how we socialize. If anything that I feel the last 4 years since we experienced the pandemic has taught us is that we need to be resilient. We need to demonstrate a sort of mental agility that comes with the unknown. In many of our lives, the pandemic was the lion cutting off our tail. Many people were experiencing layoffs. People were experiencing evictions as a result of not being able to work. People were experiencing repossessions, high interest debt, huge lifestyle changes that are tied into the way that we may have previously viewed money and used money. And some people are still impacted by that today. Some people are still learning how to navigate without that tail. Others have learned how to navigate without that tail. They have picked themselves up. They have gotten new jobs, or they have gotten new vehicles, or they have figured out how to break into the world of entrepreneurship and be successful in that way. Some have gone back to school. The focus here is not necessarily on making back the money that they lost. The focus here is on the resilience that one has to demonstrate when life knocks us down, or in line with the story, when the lion comes and cuts our tail off. Are we better off after experiencing that challenge and in the internal work that we have to do to rise to the occasion in being successful despite that challenge than we were before, right? When we eliminate the crutch that defines us, many times that looks like our jobs, many times that looks like our salaries, our incomes. How do we then put ourselves back together and redefine who we are, how we show up in the world, and how we use the other tools that we have at our disposal? The story of the monkey and the lion, specifically the monkey losing its tail, it's kind of a double entendre, right? When the monkey replies to the lion, "It won't be long now," he's speaking about his tail and the length, like the literal length of the tail. But he's also speaking about how long it's going to take him to climb out of what some people might consider misery, right? To climb out of this position of being knocked down. And that really illustrates this point of resilience, particularly financial resilience, because many times when people talk about money, when they talk about their relationship with money, when they talk about how they view themselves in relation to money, sometimes that path looks very linear, right? It looks like we start here. I start working at 14, 15, 16 years old, and between 16 and retirement, I'm always employed. There's no deviations. I'm always looking for a job. If I don't have a job, I have to find a job. And the reason why there's such an emphasis placed on if I don't have a job, I have to find a job is because we're socialized to believe that we need to go and we need to get this job so that we can make money. We need to go and we need to get this job so that we can have stability. We need to go and we need to get this job so that we can provide, not necessarily just for ourselves, but for other people. Maybe we have a family, a spouse, children. Maybe we have pets. And so we need to have money coming in order to maintain in the lifestyles that we either have grown accustomed to or we envision for ourselves, the lifestyles that we want, or at the very least, in order for us to survive in this consumer-driven, capitalistic economy. When we're faced with hardship, sometimes the journey goes from being a lateral one to experiencing many peaks and valleys, very similar to what the monkey had to experience when he lost his tail. Immediately after losing the tail and bringing it into real world instances, immediately after experiencing the pandemic, or maybe not necessarily the pandemic, but the aftershock of the change in economy and the increase in inflation and jobs that are laying off or jobs that are becoming obsolete, the necessity placed on skilling up and learning or continuous education and learning how to continue to demonstrate your value in the workplace, whether that is as an employee or as a contractor, independent contractor, or entrepreneur. That, in a way, is demonstrating what that resilience can look like. You are choosing at that point not to sit at the bottom of the jungle without a tail and mope around and feel sad for yourself. You are choosing to learn how to get back to a place where you feel like you are in control. And so I seen something recently on social media that talks about like financial stability is a lie. It was a controversial take by a content creator that speaks to this idea of financial resilience. And what's interesting about that is that so many people, most people, are socialized to focus on this idea of financial stability or financial freedom, and however it is that they define that, and lose sight of the fact that the security, if you will, that we are clutching onto, it's really an illusion, right? Any one of us can lose a job, can lose a contract, can experience a medical emergency that, or maybe an emergency around the house that we are not prepared for financially, that we then have to go into what reserves we have by way of physical cash or semi-liquid assets or social assets, the social capital that we have, borrowing money from family and friends, or social services, or you insert some solution into this equation. And if we aren't prepared because of the forethought that we may have not demonstrated by putting money into an emergency fund, or we don't have access to a network of people who can give us those resources, or we've previously made too much money to qualify for some of those social services. A lot of times people, because they don't know what they don't know, or they don't know what they qualify for, they have access to, can get stuck in this place of confusion, can get stuck in this place of, well, what do I do now? Can get stuck in the bottom of the jungle floor. And so that illusion of financial stability is broken because what we placed all of our eggs into this basket of building, we realize is fleeting. We think about the individual that we walk past or that we drive by who is carrying the cardboard sign that says, I'm hungry and I'm homeless, or I will work for food, or anything helps, or God bless you. We may sometimes instinctively and with shame or guilt, or maybe without, view that individual with disdain or frustration. Not necessarily because we feel like their life choices led them down the wrong path, but I think secretly because we can recognize how close we are to having a very similar experience. Or we can recognize how close we are to being in that experience, right? How close we are, or how much resources we don't have to give away, and the frustration that comes with, oh, if I give, then I'm taking away from myself. And I can go into a whole diatribe about the scarcity and abundance mindsets that says there's not enough for everybody to go around, and I need to hold on to the things that are mine, and I need to also get and take and take and take so that other people can't have. But I want to focus right now on that reaction, the reaction that we might have to individuals who have less than us, the reaction, that the recognition rather, that we might have in being one medical emergency away, or being one like tangible emergency away, by way of paycheck, or a series of paychecks, by way of layoff, by way of unemployment, and navigating unemployment for a period that exists greater than the amount of money that we may have in our cash reserves, right? Financial educators will go on and they'll say, you need to have at least 6 months of an emergency fund tucked away. And that number, I don't know where that number comes from, but that number is often kind of tossed around 3 months, 6 months, a year, to say in that time period, you should be able to go out and find another job. When the reality that I think a lot of people are waking up to as I navigate the social media platforms like LinkedIn or like Twitter or Instagram, and seeing that people are looking and have been looking for employment for a very long time, sometimes in excess of what is that recommended reserve. We have to come to grip rather with the fact that our idea of stability, our idea of security is fleeting. It's an illusion. It's something that we all made up, and that we all agreed, hey, this is what's going to make us feel better about navigating through the life that we navigate through. And so emphasis needs to be placed on resilience, financial resilience. And that resilience is simply developing the skills and the ability to meet these challenges head on, the ability to adapt, the ability to adjust, the ability to recognize what resources are available that are within our control, what resources are available that are outside of our control, and how do we pool those resources so that we can navigate the different possibilities of storms that may come our way. Some people are more adept at that. Some people have been navigating these storms their entire lives. Some people have been navigating this place of discomfort for a number of years. And so it doesn't cause them so much panic or so much anxiety to be in this space because this is their lived experience. Really, the trick with individuals who fall into this category, as I've seen in the work that I've done and as I've experienced in my own lifetime, is how do you help them to decompress and reprogram themselves out of being in this survival mode when their safety is no longer threatened. But individuals who have secured relative safety for an extended period of time, or maybe their entire lives, navigating the opposite, are shell-shocked from the wake-up call that comes with the breaking of that illusion, if you will, the breaking of that stability, and having to navigate this period of unknown. And so my caution to financial educators who may be out there and may be listening, and to the everyday viewer who is interested in this programming, who's interested in understanding more about finance, their personal finance, their relationship with money, financial therapy, and improving their financial health, is that, again, this idea of education is important. It's important for us to understand how these systems work, how financial systems show up, what are the tools, what are the products, what are the resources that we can access to position ourselves and insulate ourselves from this interruption. But also, but also, emphasis needs to be placed on the what if scenario of this interruption occurring. And that what if scenario solution cannot only rest in you need to have a 6 months emergency fund, or you need to have a 9-month emergency fund, or you need to have a 1-year emergency fund. Because when we start turning the dial towards vigilance, and we start taking a defensive posture when it comes to money, a solely defensive posture when it comes to money, we also rob ourselves of the opportunity to use money in the way that money should be used, as a tool to build, to have experiences, to enjoy, etc. And so when we look at the map, if you will, of what our path looks like, or what we want our path to look like financially, and we look at what are the stumbling blocks or the obstacles to accomplishing that path, how do we access the tools that we need in order to build bridges over the areas of terrain that require bridges? How do we build roads over the area of terrain that require for us to pave roads? How do we bring in the quote unquote the ships to navigate the areas of the terrain that are marine, right? That are marine life, where we have to cross across rivers and oceans and lakes. And all of those variables are going to be influenced by our education, by our access to resources, by our recognition of those resources, by the strategic placement of those resources on our board, and by the relationships. I think this is the most important piece of the puzzle, by the relationships that we form, by the community that we create in navigating this path. In 2019, I did a TEDx talk called, I titled it, Financial Empowerment is a Team Sport. And in 2019, I didn't know nearly as much as what I know now about financial education, specifically financial therapy and the behavioral side of understanding money. But I knew enough to know that no one makes it by themselves. I'm going to repeat that. I knew enough to know that no one makes it by themselves. And so in that TED Talk, I end the talk by with a call to action that encourages people to build a team. And I didn't define that team. I just gave examples of what that team can look like. For me, at that stage in my life, building a team looked like surrounding myself by financial professionals who could help me advance on my way to accomplishing the goals that I had. At that time, I had recently purchased a home, and so my team consisted of having an accountant and having a real estate agent and having a broker and having different people who could educate me on the process to improve my credit and to educate me on the process to leverage financial products and solutions, investing my money in brokerage accounts, et cetera, et cetera. Because that talk was 5 years ago, and in the 5 years, I've experienced a little bit more life, and I've gone through some formal programs around education to learn what other resources are available, what other financial professionals are available. I would extend my vision or my version of a team to include non-financial professionals, to include family, to include friends, to include teachers, community leaders, community influencers, etc. Because when we are met with that interruption, when we are met with the lion cutting off our tail, we will need someone to help shelter us. We will need someone to help feed us. We will need someone to help in extending themselves while we're digging ourselves out of the maybe misery or maybe frustration or maybe feelings of despair that we're navigating, while we get to a place where we can start climbing that tree and learning how to use the other tools that we don't have access to anymore. And so I want to close by reminding you of what the monkey said to the lion when the lion cut off his tail. And that was that it won't be long now. For you in establishing financial resilience, I want that to be a mantra. Or in assessing your own financial resilience, always remember, it won't be long now. You just have to build community, build a team, and get back into climbing those trees and jumping from tree to tree and learning and equipping yourself with the tools and the resources and the knowledge so that you can be back to the greatness and the magnificence that the monkey had when he was swinging from tree to tree with his long tail. This has been another episode of Financially Irresponsible. Again, I'm your host, Rahkim Sabree, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
Sometimes life just happens. Don't worry. Farmington Motorsports will get you back on the road and at a fair price. From towing to tires, emissions to transmissions.
Our ASC certified techs do it all.
Farmington Motorsports is a family-run business. We're a Napa Auto Center and AAA approved. We work on all makes and models from preventative maintenance to major repairs.
And every repair is backed by our 2-year, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty.
When life happens to you, don't worry. Farmington Motorsports.
Hi, I'm Jay McCormick, a board director at Nutmeg TV, your local public TV station right here in Farmington. Nutmeg TV has been an integral part of our community for over 30 years, providing a platform for residents to share stories, voice concerns, and celebrate achievements. It's a vital resource that connects us all, bringing countless local events to our TV screens. The topics are limitless and vary from being aware of scams to veterans helping veterans. Nutmeg TV continues to be here for the community. To continue this important work, we're asking for your support through a donation. Your contribution will ensure that Nutmeg TV remains a robust and relevant resource for our community. Thank you for supporting Nutmeg TV. Together, we can continue to amplify the voices and stories that make our community unique and vibrant.
To make a donation, simply visit our website at nutmegtv.com or call the office at 860-321-7405 for assistance.